Hey, kia ora. I'm Helen Browns coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Sorry, I've got to turn. There we go. I think I'm better off with it off. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast, number 1426, Genealogy, Unlikely Sources. So in my treasure hunt, in other words, unpacking of boxes, I have come across some treasure. I'm calling it a treasure hunt because there's stuff in there I haven't seen for a while, stuff that brings back memories, going all the way back to my childhood. So it's been kind of exciting and all of that too. So I thought, let's talk about some unlikely sources that you can find information about ancestors, about family, where you can find names in that. And so I have two sources that I have found that kind of four, that I can show you so that you can, look, because there are sources all around you. There are sources in your house you may not even realize has information on ancestors in it. That could be a way to find relatives' names and things. Oh, excuse me. So we're just going to share them. Now, the other day I came across this box and I actually did a Facebook Live on it. So it's on my Facebook page, about the scrapbook that my mum kept for me over the years, going from age 1 all the way through to my 17th birthday, including my passing of university entrance, which was a certification, a national certification in New Zealand school system. Now, the thing with university entrance is it was interesting. Based on your workload throughout the year and your grades throughout the year, you could actually get it accredited, which means you didn't have to sit and pass. They just passed you. And at around the mid-year mark, the principal of the school would meet with all of the sixth formers, which I think is year 12 now, because they've changed all of the numbering structure. So our second to last year of high school, he met with all of the students in that year and explained to them where on the graph that they fell at that time, in order to, and there was a line across the middle, and that line was the line for being accredited. I'm not trying to get my tongue around that other word. And so he brought me into the office and he said, here's the line. And he goes, and you got these people above get accredited, these people below have to sit and pass. And he put my dot immediately below the line. He said, with just a little more work, he said, you can actually get accredited university entrance. And I turned around to him and I said, nope. He looks at me and goes, what do you mean? I said, if you accredit me university entrance, I am going to hand it back because that is an option, and sit and pass it anyway. And he just looked at me like, seriously? He goes, why is that? And I said, because I happen to, you hear a lot of things. You can do research on things like this as well. And this was before the internet, in the Wayback Machine in 1983. Wow, that was in 1983. So, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Oh my gosh, that was 40 years ago. And I still remember this conversation. Wow. And he goes, why is that? And I said, because I happen to know that if you have two people if you get accredited UE and you don't have a higher qualification to go with it, employers are going to be more favorable to those who have sat and passed university entrance. And I said, I know I am not going to be here for the full year next year. This was around the time I had just applied to join the Royal New Zealand Air Force. And I said, I'm going to be going into the Air Force. And so I said to him, and I know I'm not going to get any higher qualifications to go with my university entrance if I get it accredited. So I want to sit and pass it. And he was taken aback and he was like, oh, okay. And so later that year, they sat us all in the library and they handed out the envelopes. Those that got the thick envelopes were having to sit UE. And I got my envelope and I found out, this is thick. I'm sitting, because he had taken to heart that if he accredited me, I was going to hand it back and sit and pass anyway. And so I did. So cards for those are in my scrapbook as well. Mum put them under graduation, which kind of sort of was, but not really, because I went back for part of my last year of high school and I was there till April. And we start school we have all year school, January through December. Or end of January through to mid-December. We have about 6 weeks off for a summer break. And so I was there from the end of January through to almost the end of April. So a quarter of the year. And so those cards are in there as well in that scrapbook. So, and then I found this other box. So where can you find names? So I have this really cool box that my mum has kept for me over the years. It's actually in really good condition. And in here are all my baby cards, all the cards that they got. Congratulations on your baby girl, a daughter, congratulations. Welcome to your baby. This one sparkles. I don't know if you can see this, but this has got sparkles. Look at that, it's got sparkles on it. Oh, this one has too. Look at all the sparkles. There we go. We've got the sparkles on it. Sparkles from birth. And there's this whole bunch that, I mean, this box is full, as you can see, of cards that are in there. And it even has I didn't see that one the other day. Auntie Jess. Yay. So for those that weren't around during this time, these are original text messages. They're called telegrams. So for those generations who have never seen an original text message, wondered what they were, this is them. But these ones are actually printed on a ticker tape, which is then pasted onto the telegram by the telegram office, wherever they were received. See, these are original text messages. The messages were sent on this ticker tape, and it was cut up and put onto papers and delivered to them. Now, back in the days before they did that, it used to be that the text messages came via Morse code, and there would be somebody at a station somewhere that would then transcribe the message, and that message would then get delivered to whoever it was meant for. Those were the earlier telegrams. Those were the, this is back in the 1800s when they had the Morse code and everything else. And so those were, these are original text messages. They send text, it gets put on a piece of paper, it gets delivered. So this is one source of information that you can find. Like this yellow one here, this was sent by my Aunt Jess, who was actually my great aunt. And this one was sent by, who was this one sent by? Oh, Granny and Pop. So these are my great-grandparents who sent this one. And Granny and Pop were my father's mother's parents, great-grandparents. And this, this was sent by my dad's mum. It says Mother, Dad, and Barry. It's my uncle. And so these are where you can get information from. You can get information off these. Like people see this and go, Barry, who's Barry? And then they can go start researching and find out it's my dad's brother. And this one was sent by Auntie Glad. I have to ask my mum who Auntie Glad is because I don't know. So I'll have to ask her that one. But, it's written by Auntie Glad. I don't know who Auntie Glad is. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go to my mum and dad and go, who's Auntie Glad? And then when I go through these cards, well, it's from my aunt and uncle. So that one I know. But when you go through cards and you see names that you don't know, ask somebody who knows. In case I didn't know who these people were, it's got Rosalind, Peter, and Stephen. Can't read the last name, but underneath it's got in parentheses, your neighbors across the road. So I knew where they live. I know where they live because I know where the house is. So I can go through these and I can find all the different names and things in there. And if I don't know who the names are, I can ask and I can find out if they were family friends, if they were relatives, if they were cousins, aunts, uncles, all that sort of thing. So baby cards are a good source of, what's on the bottom of this? Another fine Anchor Hocking product. Lancaster, Ohio, USA. This is on the bottom of the box. I'm from New Zealand. How my mother got this, I don't know, because I wonder if this was like a box of chocolates or something at some point. But they originated from Lancaster, Ohio in the US. So there's another story that I can go find. How did my mother end up with a box of Anchor products from Ohio? So there's another story that I now have to go and ask my mum. Where did you get that box from? She'll probably go, I don't remember. But then this is my scrapbook. So if you've seen my Facebook Live the other day, I actually took you through the scrapbook. But this is things from over the years. Like this is my 14th birthday cards, the cards I got on my 14th birthday. And I can open them and see names in them. It's got grandma and granddad, and I know the handwriting, so I know that that's my dad's parents. This is from my Auntie Joy and her husband and their kids, so my aunt and uncle and cousins. And this one is from my mum's parents and my sister by heart. And this is from my aunt and uncle, my mum's parent, my mum's sister. Let's go back in the Wayback Machine. Let's see, this one's from mum and dad. Well, that's interesting. I have to talk to my mum about that one. It's from my aunt and uncle, and I'm trying to see if I can find. Oh, here's Mrs. Campbell, and underneath it's got SS teachers. That was my Sunday school teacher. That was Mrs. Campbell, and my grandparents and Susan and Sandra. They were daughters of friends of my parents. Look, there's a text message in my scrapbook. So this is another place that you can go and find things when you come across names you don't know and your parents are still around. Ask them. I remember going through them and going through the cards one time and going to my parents, well, who's this? Who's this? I can't read this person's handwriting. My mum would sit there and decipher it for me. This is back in my teenage years. Then I found this box. This box got a little squished in the move. But this box, so we've started with the beginning of life and through some of life. This box is a very special box. This is Brad's funeral book. So this book here has in it the obituary we wrote up. It has messages that were left on the website where the obituary was. It has names and names of people who came to his funeral. They signed the guest book there. So this is like the guest book as well. And I also have the eulogy that I read in there as well. And I actually read through the eulogy the other day and I was a mess. This is the eulogy. You can see how many pages it is. It was several pages. It took a while to read it through, but it was my way of. But yes, it has in here, and it has one of Brad's poems is in here as well that he wrote. Oops, other side, Helen. Nope, that is the right side. This is the dawn that Brad wrote. I actually wrote 3. He wrote the dream, the dawn, and the house. I totally forgot about the 3. And so this was a poem that was read out at the funeral. And so there's, you go to and somewhere in here it has a genealogy page where you can put there his parents, his wife, sons, daughter, kids' names and daughter or son-in-laws, grandsons, brothers, sister-in-laws. So we've got Brad's family all written in there. There's the obituary that we did for him. That's in there as well. And then we have the guest book with messages and from relatives and friends who attended. Some people wrote their addresses in here, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, so they've got pages here of we had a full house in the chapel. So we've got that in there, and then there's and again, you can go through this, you can go through the guest list, you can see who came to the funeral. And if you're somebody who knows the family, you will know who was family and who wasn't. If you're unsure, you can always ask somebody in the family to find out. But that is a great source that will be around for a very long time of Brad's funeral. So looking at the other end of it, then where's the box? I haven't opened this box yet, but I know what it is. But it's got Brad's cards written on the outside. This thing is full. So this is another one where I can go through the cards, or the cards that were sent to me. I taped it up because I haven't. We're moving. But these were all the sympathy cards that were sent. And I believe that we also have, yes, we did. We also have cards that were on the flowers and that sort of thing as well that are on there. So this is, you know, all the gifts that were sent as well. So this is all the cards I received, along with some of the cards came with gifts, and like, oh, I just had it here. I got forget me not seeds. I'm not a gardener, but I will figure this out. I will figure the gardening thing out. But there are, as you can see, there's a lot of cards in here. Somebody even sent me this book on dealing with grief, which I thought was absolutely awesome. But there's cards, and I can go through, again, going through things like sympathy cards. Who sent the messages? Were they related to the family, the person who deceased? Were they, best friends with the family and that sort of stuff? So again, cards, and I admitted to somebody the other day, I don't throw out any cards, any greeting cards I receive that are sent to me that are not marketing, not marketing cards. I keep them all. So I have cards everywhere. Like, I will open up boxes. I will open up, a big box, and in there'll be a smaller box that will have cards in it. And this is one of them, but this is just all of the cards I got. All sorts of cards in here. It's just amazing. I mean, somebody sent me the sticker, may there always be an angel by your side. Isn't that sweet? Oh, is that another? No, that's a card. I haven't been in this box for a while. You just saw me open it. Oh, this is... Oh, and I got this little charm that says someone cares. This little charm that says someone cares about you. So some people sent me these beautiful little gifts and things as well. So very appreciative of those. And there's someone here I'm going to have to go and have a look at further and have a look. But oh, this is really cool. Someone sent me this that says Guardian Angels. It's a little bag with Guardian Angel on the outside. And I'm trying to get the little thing out. But this is really cool. How cool is this? Oh, hang on, you can't see it because of the light. Let's turn the, hang on, I'm going to do this. Turn that light off. There you go. See the little angel? And that's so sweet. So, there's lots of little things in here, little mementos and things like that, that, that were given to me at Brad's passing and things. And like, we even got the ribbon off one of the baskets that we got. So, going through cards, going through all of this little bit of memorabilia and seeing, just what the, and learning by going through cards, you also learn more about the person who passed, because people will write stories into those cards as well. So again, the birthday cards, the sympathy cards, the, sorry, I got itchy eye. The newborn cards, the funeral book, all have clues into the lives of the people who were born or who passed. It all gives you glimpses into their lives, and by going through the information that's in there, you can get names for relatives. Like, well, hang on, this person's got the same last name as the person who passed. How are they? Are they related? How are they related? Things like that. So it's an unusual source for treasures, an unlikely source. People may not, people wouldn't even think of stuff like this. But to find treasures like this are just awesome. I don't know if you just saw me open this box, but I haven't been through the funeral book or read my eulogy yet. I actually did that one a few days ago, and I couldn't just sit and read the eulogy. I actually had to read it like when I stood up at the front of the chapel and read it back, almost 5.5 years ago. So, yeah, that was an emotional reading, more emotional than the actual day, because the actual day I actually managed to keep it together pretty well up there. When I was rereading that the other day, I was a mess. I was a mess. And Zeph is just sitting there, just watching me with this. And then she came up at one point and nudged my hand as if to say, it's okay. It's okay. We got you. So yeah, but you'll find all sorts of information around the house. You just in your house, in your things, you will find all sorts of information, things that you have kept, mementos. When you find a memento and there's a really cool story behind that memento, then write about it so that people know that this memento is from blah 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 blah. So I've got although no, it's not up there yet. I haven't found that one yet. There's actually when we did the river cruise back in 2011, I was, wherever we went, fridge magnets and postcards. Fridge magnets, because that's what I collect, because they're very small. They don't take up a lot of space. And there's something that reminds you. When I'm looking at the magnets, I'm looking at, the different magnets that they have for different towns and cities and things, or the places. And I'm like, okay, I want something that represents what I saw today, or what I experienced today. Now, when we were in Milk, I couldn't do that because I had just, the day before, I'd had a 24-hour stomach flu. And so I wasn't up to getting out and going on shore. So what I did is I sat in the lounge area. I was out of confinement at that time. I was confined to my cabin the day before, and I was just sort of like, I wasn't anywhere ready to leave the cabin that day. I was just so sick. And they even brought the doctor on board for me. And thankfully not sick enough to be taken to a hospital, as we had with one passenger. But they confirmed it was a 24-hour stomach flu. And I can tell you the person who brought it on too. But that's another story for another day. And so when we were at Milk, Brad said, "Oh, do you want me to bring you anything back?" And I said, yes. I said, I want my fridge magnet and I want my postcards. And he's like, okay. And we had met up with we had met two couples the day we boarded the ship. We kind of sort of met them at the hotel and stuff, but we ended up meeting them at the captain's cocktail hour before dinner was served on our first night. And we ended up sitting with them. And it was my birthday when I was on there. And it turned out one of the other women there, she was sitting opposite me. It was her birthday as well. And so we've been happy birthday backwards and forwards for the last 12 years, whatever, 2011. So 12 years so far. And so the woman, their husbands had both come down with stomach flu, but they weren't going to miss going into. Oh, no, actually, one of them. Let's see, Hank had gone on the Vienna tour, which I wanted down to Strasbourg, which is where I wanted to go, which is where they filmed Sound of Music, and I was bummed that I missed that day. And the other one, her husband was down with the stomach flu, and so it was just the two women and Brad and so they decided to tag along with Brad. I think they felt safe with a 6'5" guy with them, which was fine. And they're the ones that actually reminded him to, and Malk is known for this beautiful abbey that they've got there. And didn't get to see it, but I want to go back so I can see it. And so they reminded him that he had to get the fridge magnet and postcards, and then helped him select which ones to bring back. So that's, my Milk. When I see my Milk magnets and postcards, I remember that trip. I remember the fact that I couldn't go that day because I'd been down with the stomach flu the day before. But I also remember our new friends who helped Brad select the magnet and the postcards. So that's just me with magnets and postcards. So I can write stories about that. I can sit here with a notebook and look at the magnets up there and tell you stories about every single one of them that's up there. I haven't found I know that there's some missing from up there because I don't have my cruise ships up there. Every cruise ship I have been on, with the exception of Armour Waterways, river cruise that we were on at the time, I have a fridge magnet of the ship, but it's not on my filing cabinet yet because I've got to find them. They're still tucked away somewhere. But I would have them lined up in the order that we sailed on them. And like I said, the Armour Waterways ship is the only one that's missing a magnet because they didn't have a magnet of the riverboat that we sailed on. And so I was like, damn it. I have postcards of it, but I do not have a fridge magnet of it. So, but things are found in unusual places. So just keep your eyes open when you're looking through your mementos and things like that. You're looking through photographs, and some people in their photo albums will tuck in like maybe a card or something they got, or they'll tuck in a piece of paper with a story written on it. They will find different things hidden in different books and stuff. A book that was well read may have some notes written in it. Recipe, recipe, don't get me started on recipe box. I want my mother's recipe box. I want my mom's recipe book. It's this old blue beaten up binder that's all the recipes in there are written in her handwriting, except for the ones she clipped out of newspapers. But those were the recipes that, I grew up with. And I think some of them may have been handed down from her mom. But I know that some of the recipes in there had somebody's name next to them, which is who she got the recipe from. But yeah, it's a great little blue book. My mother, oh, you won't want that old thing. Oh, yes, I do. So, Mum, if you're watching, please don't throw out your recipe book because I want it. It's like one of the things I have from my mother-in-law's place, which is in with all the genealogy stuff I got from her place, are her old address books, because she would write information about different families in that address book. It was her way of tracking the genealogy of things. And she had done a whole ton of research from the late 60s through to the late 80s, I think it was. Yeah, I think she went from late 60s to the late 80s, maybe into the early 90s on the research that she did. So that was before any computers were around, or before computers were around where they were scanning the information to put it on the internet and things like that. So she did it the hard way. And I have done the research the hard way as well. And to this day, I can still do. And to this day, there are times that as a genealogist, you are required to do research the old-fashioned way, which is boots on the ground, walking into places, filling out forms, asking for records, looking up records, and that sort of thing as well. So there are times, because some records they cannot digitize because of some privacy law or copyright infringement, that sort of stuff as well. So some of them require you actually having to go and do physical research, which is, I would tell you this, I love doing that. Hence the reason I like genealogy. But yeah, so I have in the boxes with all her genealogy stuff, she had a stack of address books, and like she'll fill up an address book and then we'll get her a new one and she'll go and copy across all the information. And we said, just copy across the stuff of the people who are still living. So there's a lot of history in those address books, and I have that, and I'm actually going to get them scanned. I think I'll get them scanned, but yeah, she had like the people's names. If they had kids, she had their kids' names there. She had like their full name and their birth dates were written in there. And yeah, that was her little mini genealogy, her little mini family tree thing in there. Even for friends, family and friends were in those address books. So yeah, so now my job as I'm going through is figuring out who is family, who are friends, and extracting that information and then backing it up with other information that we can find as well, because it's not an original source. And when you get an original source, if you can get original source like a birth certificate to go with that information, a death certificate, because should it even put if people had died, the date that they died in there. So that's kind of like a secondary source, because it's not somebody who witnessed that incident, so to speak. But the original documents will be like death certificates, birth certificates, things like that. So you never know what's laying around in your house that could give you clues to genealogy, or laying around your parents' house or an elderly relative's house that could give you clues to genealogy. So when you're looking, if you're helping clear out a relative's house, be careful what you throw out, because if they turn, oh, those are just old cards. No, tuck them aside, because when you go through them, you can see, who were these people, and how, are they relatives or not? Because you don't want to lose those links that could give you a glimpse into somebody's life, because it'll give you a glimpse into their life. But it's just fun. It's finding the stories that make it fun. And like I was talking with a client of mine whose tree I had done a while ago, and we were talking about the stories, and the fun that I had with her tree is the stories I kept uncovering. And it's like every generation, once we got to a certain generation level, like her second great grandmother, everything after that was just story after story after story after story. And I would tell you, they are fascinating stories. They are incredible stories. And I'm looking forward to going back into her tree and just tidying it up a little bit, and seeing what other stories I can uncover before I do a recording of the walkthrough of her tree, especially on this one leg. And now I've got some, through one of my genealogy classes, I learned more about researching the New York State area. And so now I can go back and research that part of the tree, which is where I had a big stumbling block in there, and see if I can unstumble that block. But I will tell you this, the class I did last November, December, that was that 7-week intense class, we were looking at census records at one point, and I'd been having, and in my research on my mother-in-law's tree, well, mother-in-law, father-in-law's tree, so Brad's family tree, I had a couple of stumbling blocks, but I hadn't gone, but we were looking at the 1940 census, 1940 and 1950 census, which I haven't had a chance to go in and look for any of Brad's family in there. And we're researching different parts, and we get told to go to this particular census report on this particular page because we're looking for this, this particular household. Their next door neighbor had the same last name as one of Brad's relatives. And I was like, so I quickly jump over to my tree and have a look, and yeah, that was his relatives that were the next door neighbors of the one that we were doing the research on, doing the case study on. And I got all excited, and I got into the chat, and and they turned around and said, this is not the appropriate place for this. This needs to be under the water cooler. This is for stuff related to this question. I was like, to this assignment. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I just got excited because I now found a missing piece to my tree. So, yeah. So I copied and pasted it into the water cooler system, into the water cooler area of the chat thing that we used. So you never know what's going to come up. You never know. But it was kind of exciting. And then I found some that had a similar last name because Brad's family last name got changed several times. After they arrived in the US, they shortened down their name, and then his grandfather changed it to Brahms. And when Brad's father was like around 5 or 6. And so I'm finding names in there that had the name before it was Brahms. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if they're related. So I was taking copious notes and saying, okay, I've got to go check this particular census that was done in this area and this county, and check that out. So that's in my notes to follow up and have a look at. But like I said, you never know what's going to pop up. Birthday cards, sympathy cards, funeral guest books, happy, congratulations on your new baby cards. You never know where you're going to find information. So make sure you double check anything before you throw it out, that it's not going to be a link to some relative somewhere along the way. But that's it from me for today. Have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here. Let's see, what have I got on? I think I've got something on tomorrow. Oh, no, we'll be fine. So we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Oh, and don't forget, if you want to join us on Before the Dirt Nap Adventure Caribbean Pirates, their link is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. It is pirates.beforethedirtnap.com. And the before is with the B and the number 4. So have a super fantastic sparkling evening. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Hey, konera.